Türkiye Sermaye Piyasası Kongresi online etkinliklerle
The Turkish Capital Market Congress is continuing online, and in our next panel we are going to talk about how the digital services contribute to capital markets during the pandemic. We have ARIKAN here as our honorary guest speaker. He is the CEO and board member of the Central Registry Agency. I want to give the word to him. Thank you very much for coming and for listening from afar. Our subject are the digital services and their contribution to capital markets during the pandemic. And starting, I want to thank the Congress here for doing this Congress online. So this is also an effect of the pandemic. So you responded well here. I have a short presentation. The Central Securities Depository is the Central Registry Agency, started with the dematerialized has started after 2005 to be held in centrally. The agency started in the year 2004 and 2001, and we have our 20 years after us. So as a Central Registry Agency, when we're talking about digitalization, we are working as a financial technology institution. And starting with last year, and especially in the last 2 years, we have 4 main areas of activity, and our organizational diagram and our services are under these 4 subjects. So I wanted to highlight those. We are the Central Securities Depository, and we started as this, and Central Registry Agency is the only responsible agency for central securities. And after the financial crisis 2008, in the G20 was decided to make a foreseeable risks, and therefore there was a trade repository established in countries, and they should report to each other. This was the conclusion. In 2015, the trade depository has been in the responsibility of the Central Registry Agency. The 3rd and the 4th points are our responsibilities in our operations. We are giving corporate governance services, and we have the
So there's a 3rd category as well, in which we also provide corporate governance services as well. And also the 4th task is the investor services, mostly Istanbul, and also as MKK and also Takas Bank. So so both Takas Bank and MKK. So we operate in a B2B model, but however, the Central Registry Agency is different in the sense that our operations are B2B, but however, the data that we store is B2B to C data. So we store the data of the investors. So we are the sole institution storing the data of investors, and also there are some investors with passive accounts. For example, there are people who opened an account and closed about 10 years ago. And so we have the registry of all these people. And then, and also if it's necessary to trace retrospectively, then we have the registration of this after talking about our four main fields of activity. And I'll be sharing with you a couple of issues under these headings, and also the panelists will be dealing with the details. And then we have Gökçe, one of our directors from Central Registry Agency, and also I'm sure he will go into the details of the topics that I'll be touching on. As I said, so I'd like to share a couple of figures with you about the registry data. And on the 15th of November. So we are storing securities worth 2.56 trillion. And so the background, the red background in the slide, it takes the data of the previous day. And for example, and so you'll be able to see the data of the 16th of November if you look at there today on our website. The total number of investors, and so the number of investors increased immensely during the transition from 2020 to 2021. So it's about 28 million. And so we can say 2.4 million. And so all this data can be followed over our website. And also you see domestic and also foreign investment. And also, so we see the investors for all the government bonds and everything. And also, and so interest in investment bonds funds has increased over the recent time as well. As I said, this information is available to everyone over MKK's website. And if you want to see this information in greater detail, and so WAP is a platform we launched yesterday, last year as a sister platform. It's a data analysis platform, and you can see these pieces of information in greater detail. You can see the breakdowns of this piece of information. So my presentation, and so maybe I'm advertising our website in a sense, and I believe that I believe that the websites of institutions represent themselves as well. So I use some visuals taken from our website in this presentation. And so we have, for example, real estate and information system is one of the most recent added things. And so we have taken over it from the Turkish appraisal associations. It is a separate entity. And so real estate, as you know, that is a very important financial asset. And previously, we had there were some initiatives to have some real estate certificates, and we can, so you're all aware, real estate is a topic of finance in a speculative way. And also, so we have established this entity in order to store real estate information with the quality and expertise that we have about storing data. So as the Central Registry Agency will be sharing its expertise and experience with this entity. So in our storage services, and so we are known for our services provided to Borsa Istanbul in the capital markets. And sometimes people view us in relation to the services we provide to all Borsa Istanbul. And also we provide services for 17 different agricultural crops and products. And so we have a storage. So we have 153 licensed warehouses all across Turkey. We also physically store these products as well. And also crowdfunding platforms. And there are some projects issues over crowdfunding, and we also store their data physically. And also another responsibility assigned to us is so we have been the registry center of the bearer shares as well. So there's physical storage. So we have know-how and experience about this physical. Uh, so we are also assuming some new responsibilities about any form of registry. So we are also increasing the diversity. We are diversifying our products and also services as well. And so I'm not touching upon the services that we've been providing for Borsa Istanbul and also Takas Bank. So when we talk about data storage, so as Turkish Central Registry Agency, I think this business will grow more and more. We define ourselves as a technology company, and because we have very valuable data, it is likened to diamond and to petroleum, and also there's historic data, and some very valuable products are coming out through the analyzing of historic data. In the presence of this amount of data, we believe that we need to present it in a better way. So we are doing our best to add some new products. And as I said, we commissioned the data analysis platform last year. And also we have an investor tracking system on the banking side. There are some long lines. And then we have a, so the inter, so this is the, so there's a credit registry office, and so there is some borrowing, and also there are some open sales as well. We collect the registry of all these, and then so the banks are sharing the risks of customers with each other, and we are trying to develop this as well. The data is being collected at the moment, and also and so it took us some time to establish the infrastructure in line with the law on the protection of personal data. And then Pusula will be presented to intermediaries, and they will be able to use it for strategic planning. And so we will see the details of investors based on the provinces, and also and to what extent some similar companies, for example, have grown. So we are working to present to introduce this product as well. And so in addition to T+1 reporting, and we have T+0 on the day of contract. So we have contracting day reporting, and also we have also developed certain functions as is reporting of derivatives as well, and we also provide some corporate governance services as well. And then, I told you about CAP, we are still developing it. And also we have developed this search algorithm. And also based on the data that we obtain from CAP, we are developing new indexes. And so there's profitability index, and also turnover index, and also default index as well. And also this will continue by process. So we're working hard to analyze the data and provide to contribute to our markets, and also the electronic general assembly system is very important. So publicly traded companies have been using it since 2011, and then we exported this technology to Indonesia as well. And last year, and we installed this in Indonesia, and they started using it. And so they are using it with greater figures because Indonesia consists of hundreds of islands, as you know, and it is difficult for them to convene physically. And more than 2,000 general assemblies have been held using this technology. And starting from the start of the year, it's about so they use it even more frequently than Turkey, and also And also we have an electronic board system as well. And during the pandemic, it started to expand very rapidly. Our companies are using the electronic board system, and it is becoming more and more widespread in the industry. And so my next heading is investor services, as I said, as our fourth service heading. We talk about investor services, and we also launched each e-investor last year as well. Its mobile application is available at the moment, and also the number of users is growing rapidly. And also last year, the investors, the interest of investors rose really rapidly last year. And also we have a customer communication center as well. So when we have all these novelties and also this wide range of products, um, so we receive questions domestically and also internationally. We also receive applications as well. In order to be able to provide better services, we established our client communication center as well. So as I said at the beginning, the Central Registry Agency uh, emerged as a result of digital transformation, and our services began to be used more widespreadly over the recent times during the pandemic. So the publicly traded companies were but central bank and many other institutions started to use, for example, our electronic boards and meeting. And sorry, so we have a brief video because on the occasion of our 20th anniversary, I'd like to show you a short video with you.
Dijital kayda uzanan yolculuğunda geçmişi geleceğe taşıyan bir köprü görevi üstlenmek üzere kuruldu. BKK'nın 21 Eylül 2001'de sermaye piyasalarının kaydeleştirilmesi göreviyle başlayan serüveni, Türkiye'nin merkezi saklama kuruluşu olma yolunda ilk adım oldu. BKK bugün Türkiye'nin merkezi saklama kuruluşu olarak 5000'den fazla kurumsal üyesine saklama, veri depolama ve raporlama, kurumsal yönetim ve yatırımcı hizmetleri sunuyor. Borsa İstanbul grubunun ilk üyesi olarak Merkezi Kredi Kuruluşu kurulduğu ilk günden bugüne uluslararası sermaye ve finans piyasalarında etkin bir iletişim ve iş ağı geliştirdi. BKK, ARGE merkezi kimliğiyle kendi iç kaynaklarıyla geliştirdiği yazılım, sistem ve platformlama, yerli ve yabancı finansal kuruluşlara veri ve teknoloji hizmetleri sunmanın gururunu taşıyor. Sermaye piyasalarının gelişimi, kurumsal yönetim standartları yükseltilmesi, yatırımcı hizmetlerin çeşitlendirilmesi ve İstanbul'un uluslararası bir finans merkezi haline getirilmesi hedefiyle üretilen hizmetler BKK'ya stratejik önem kazandı. BKK uluslararası birliklerin aktif üyesi olarak dünya çapında 20'den fazla ülkenin merkezi saklama kuruluşuyla resmi temas halinde. Kamuya aydınlatma platformu KAP, işletmecisi, elektronik ürün senetleri için elektronik kayıt kuruluşu, borsada işlem görmeyen anonim şirketler için hamilenin yazılı hisse senetlerinin kayıt merkezi görevleri ve kitle fonlaması platformları için sağladığı kitle fonlaması sisteminin yanı sıra ARGE merkezinde BKK mühendislerinin yerli teknolojileriyle geliştirdiği elektronik genel kurul sistemi EGKS, elektronik yönetim kurulu sistemi EYKS, yatırımcı bilgi merkezi e-yatırımcı, veri analiz platformu VAP, yatırımcı risk takip sistemi YRTZ gibi dijital platformlarla sermaye piyasaları ve kurumsal yönetim ekosistemine değer katıyor. Türkiye'nin merkezi saklama kuruluşu MKK hep 20 yaşındaki enerjiyle, inandığımız yolda gururla Türkiye için çalışmaya devam ediyor.
Evet, ben teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you very much for and going beyond my time. I'd like to leave the floor to our panelists, and I wish them all the best. Hello once again. We'd like to thank EKREM very much for his very valuable contributions. And we'd like to thank the Capital Markets Association for giving us this opportunity So we were talking about how did digital services contribute to capital markets during the pandemic, but we will not only talk about the contributions of digital services during the pandemic, but also their contributions in the coming periods. So we have Gökçe İlyas, he's the CSD of Turkey, Investor and Corporate Governance Services Director. And also Gülnur Yerlikayalar is from the Union Payment of Electronic Money Institutions of Turkey. And then also İLYAS and also I'd like from SWD director. So additional transformation technology has always been part of our lives, and there was digitalization. However, when we talk about digital transformation, we're talking about a cultural transformation. And before the pandemic, in the capital markets, and there was a setting period, and so a need for change had emerged. However, it was proceeding slowly. The pandemic accelerated this process, and with the pandemic coming to an end, and so I believe that the capital markets are about to conclude and complete a cultural transformation. And so under what headings have we seen this digital transformation both in Turkey and all across the world? There was, for example, touchless and a contactless payment, and also opening accounts remotely has become something normal in our lives, and also API technologies and also integrations with these technologies as well, and also information systems, regulations, and cybersecurity and information security concepts, and also clouds technologies have started to be used commonly in capital markets, and also so these are the most important headings that I've seen. What is awaiting us in the future? If I to summarize it in a couple of words, service banking and digital banking have already been started to be talked about in our country as well, and we have started preparing its legal infrastructure, and also and so financial institutions are uh, have started. Open finance under the heading of open finance. So financial institutions are offering their services or websites. For example, using a credit, for example, when shopping in a store, and also full automation intermediary services is very and also providing some digital platforms for people, and with AP integrations, various services are now offered under a single platform. While and so digitalization is also introducing some new types of competition as well, and and also the investment funds universe is broadening very rapidly, and also under robo advisory, the professionals are managing algorithms, and the algorithms are managing the assets of people, and of course, and this will also enable everyone to access financial services at a very reasonable cost. And so I'd like to go into the details of this topic through my questions to our panelists. I'd like to start with Gökçe. Gökçe Bey, as EKREM Bey has just mentioned, so the Central Register Agency does not only register capital markets data, it also reaches the final. And so they also register digital information which reach the final user. One of the most important channels here is the Public Enlightenment Institution, and also bearer share registry system, and also the e-investor system all are very important services that touch the final user. Could you please elaborate on this?
I want to start my words with my thanks to our to the Capital Market Authority and the Central Bank, and also our participants. It's an honor for me to take part in this Congress. Let me start by giving some information about the Public Enlightenment Platform. And it started before the pandemic. And our main goal for this system was to have an access to the correct and transparent information on time. And this was our main goal when we first started. Up until 2016, this was our main target. And afterwards, we have actualized, we have updated our CAP system into CAP 4.0. And this Swift messages has been enlarged, and the financial data on KP on this public enlightenment platform is now transparent and also can be used for calculations. And KP is not a digital archive which only distributes, but also deposits this information, stores this information. During the pandemic, we wanted to make our investors to be able to access this information in real time. We updated our website. We analyzed our users, and we also analyzed the search terms they use on the search engine of our platform, and the definitions in the old regulation and in the new regulations. We try to match them and used a separate algorithm to give the users the information in the shortest time possible. So our users are searching with a four-term chain. They receive the information they are looking for with 100% success. And on our platform, we started to have also data analysis, and one of this is the profit index of the Central Registry Agency, or the indexes for the payment of dividends. And these are calculated in the market value without the adding of the inflation. And all of this information you can receive from the VIP platform anytime you want. And on our public enlightenment platform, we want to add some new functions. This can be also seen as a social responsibility project. Our target group here is people with blind people who will be able to use this platform. And we have a new system we are using where the shareholders of companies can take this information. For example, the shares have to be the companies have to answer their shareholders in 5 days after they ask a question. So these are one of the changes we have implemented. And now let's talk about investors. And when they get into this platform, they have a central application where they can see their assets, and they can block it here if they want. And also they can send their information about their shares over the system. Thank you. This public enlightenment platform is very important, and I use it also very often, KAP. And this is important for the investors because they have access to information in real time. And Mr. Ataman, the algorithm and AFT's systems were more in front, but with the pandemic, the expectations changed. Mobile channels were the preferred channels. And what has changed during the pandemic in the capital markets in terms of digital services? I thought about how to explain this topic, and I thought maybe maybe explain it in phases, because in the beginnings in the first phase we had we went into a depression, and into the second phase we went into the vaccination, and all of these phases led to different reactions. In the first phase, people were tend to shy away from capital markets because of the pandemic, because they were afraid of for their health, and because of the fluctuations in the stock exchanges, people tend to go to conventional investments. So we didn't see any developments in the digital channels. And when we look at the intermediary services, there was a sort of a quantum leap, like you said, and there was a change which was necessary, and the sharing of information, and from the remote access or the collection of the orders of customers, and to transfer these to the marketplace. So this was a not easy transformation, and we see that in banking and intermediary services were working on digital channels, and these used this. But companies who had been public offerings had to deal with a lot of challenges, and our business model or working method changed, because we were used to work in one central office or two offices, but now everybody is working from their homes. So also the tracking of these resources was another challenge. So we are not from one center, and we're talking about different mixed models now. And this change has happened very quickly. And in terms of regulators, we can say that they acted very proactively. They tried to to minimize the loss of investors and of customers, and the Capital Market Authority made analysis here, and the costs were lowered from 20 to 10%, and the market segments and their rules have changed. Even IPO rules have changed, and the reasoning behind this was to protect the customer and care for the correct functioning of the market and of the system. And in the second phase, where the vaccination started and the lockdowns were after the lockdown, we see that the new phase has come, and the young population had an important effect here. And we see that locally we had a great influx to the market, the capital market. And from 1 million, the number of investors raised to 1.7, and now we have 2.5 million investors. And the number of investors between the ages of 18 and 40 started increased dramatically, and we see that this increase is continuing. These are subjects we talked about, because this intermediation as a term was always in a subject of discussion, and cloud technologies were subjects we were talking about. But with the pandemic, it was a huge shock, and the pace of these changes and transformations accelerated. And the increase of numbers of investors and the interest in IPOs, and because of lack of funding, means more IPOs, and this led to the upcoming of new investors. And with the with opening of accounts remotely by video, all of these processes could be automated. There is no regulation in the Capital Market Authority side, but we are working with the SPK very closely. And the Banking Regulation Supervision Agency is also working on this subject. And there were some transactions were done only on digital channels, and the intermediaries did their orders, put their orders up to 80% digitally, and now this number is 95%. I think that the capital market has risen to the challenge, and what we will be talking in the future, we will talking about AI, about machine learning, and about robo-advisory. I think this will be the subjects for the near future. Yes, like you said, the capital market has been able to successfully take this challenge, and it has accelerated this process. So, Ms. İLYAS, the payment system was based solely on these digital systems. And what do you think at the pandemic on your sector?
As it stated as well, payment systems are quite new generation services, and so it was introduced to our legislation in 2013, and so it was regulated under an exclusive law. And so in the mentioned law, so there are references to payment systems and also to electronic money as well, and also what payment systems are stated, and also money transfer, and also payment of bills have been included into payment services. So, and banks, and also as long as they obtain the necessary permissions, the banks now are also allowed to provide these services as well. And of course, the developments in the legislation wasn't limited to this as well. There were some sub-arrangements as well. There was a communique, and other than this, and some other arrangements made in the legislation as well, which contributed positively to the development of the sector, and also, and there were amendments in the relevant laws as well, and all of these reflected positively to the sector. And as you also mentioned, so the sector of payment services and is closely related to electronic, and also the increase of technological advances is also contributing to the growth of the sector as well. And if we talk specifically about the pandemic, as you know, that digital payments payments increased during the pandemic, and also contactless payments has increased dramatically, and also there have been changes in the behaviors and habits, and also lifestyles of individuals as well. So we are talking about a period in which we avoided physical contact with money, and most of us made our shopping through online channels. And in this sense, and so the individual's interest in payments services has increased as well. And before the pandemic, and so we saw individuals taking some interest in payment systems as well. So even if we don't realize, we find ourselves using these payment services. For example, we have prepaid cards that we use for transportation, and we have mobile payment, and also then we transfer money. And with this, so we become part of payment services through the transfers we make online. However, the pandemic has increased the interest in the services, and also payment services and the electronic money sectors. And and has benefited from the pandemic and also technological advances, and has also caused the fintechs to increase the number of products they have, and also payment services is a very important topic for fintechs, and also the fact that the fintechs have become more attractive has also increased investments in also the capital markets. Other than that, in 2019, through the amendment on the law 64/93, and payment and electronic money institutions are now being supervised by the central bank, and the central bank, following the amendment 2019, they also put into effect certain regulations and arrangements. For example, payment services, if the payment service providers will be able to offer payment through the use of barcodes, and also and and also an opportunity to create an IBAN for money transfers has been introduced as well, and all of these developments have reflected positively to the industry and not limited to the pandemic and people's tendency to pay in a contactless way, and I believe that digital payments will become a habit and will continue after the pandemic as well, and the payment services, and also this will also contribute to the growth of the payment services sector. I agree with you. I read an international report recently. In the coming 5 years, the report said that there will be a reduction in the demand for physical cars as well. But I believe that we will quit using cards in the coming 5 or 10 years. So we'll be using mobile for all payments. And yes, you represent, so you're on the fintech side. So during the pandemic, it was not only about software, and also integrations and also infrastructures were as important as software, and we realized this. And so, what kind of a transformation have you gone through during the pandemic? Can you hear me? Yes, we hear. Yes, we hear. So I'd like to thank the association very much for making the maximum use of the opportunities provided by technology. Pandemic has caused negativities in many fields, as you said. It has been just the opposite in the digital services. It's been a catalyzer, and also there has been a leap forward in many fields. And self-service services, which have become popular after the pandemic, and it didn't receive full acceptance, although there were some trials by certain organizations. And in line with requests coming from our customers, we built an end-to-end system, and so we also commissioned our field sales service as well. Right after the pandemic, I believe that there was a short stagnation for the organizations, and also bandwidth, and also secure connection devices were the priorities of the organizations. And of course, the existing software had to be compatible with the demands of the new period. And so for example, we had to come up with certain piece of software that could work with low bandwidth, and also one of the important global risks is the risk of cybersecurity that comes with digitalization in this period in which digitalization is increasing. So we have physical transfers and also mail messaging. The companies had to analyze the risks thoroughly, and also they had to move towards certain solutions. And we also worked on information security as well. and specifically about capital markets, robo-advised through robotic process automation. So we have been positively affected with this increase in digitalization. Robotic, so we have a 100% in-house product for robotic. Uh, so, so, so we have, for example, capital and periodic reporting, and also day end, and also dividend as well. And so we have created some very productive solutions for companies with remote workings. And in order to minimize the burden of these companies, we have commissioned our robotic applications as well. So we're not only talking about the intermediaries, and we also observed that there has been an increase in the satisfaction of the employees of these intermediaries as well. So fintech, so the intermediaries want to become fintechs, and fintechs want to become everything. So these integrations are really of great importance. And another important topic is open API, and also some new development practices in line with this through and sandbox paper money and simulation. And so we'd like to integrate these fintechs and also those intermediaries that we provide services for. In addition to this, on the consumer side, for the increasing demand, we have also come up with a couple of solutions as well. And also, so we've already been providing service about, so we have some advanced analytic and also AI applications as well. So, so in the coming periods, we'll be commissioning our micro segmentation product. So this is target-based marketing. For example, those who bought this also bought this, and also, and I believe that this structure will also penetrate into our sector as well. And especially the intermediaries will have to are now restructuring their marketing activities accordingly, and with crypto asset, and also customer experience has for entry level users has become very important. And that are the main headings that I'd like to talk about, the changes going on. And then I believe that we can only exist as long as we renew ourselves. And then and so you have the biggest load burden, but you really dealt with it very successfully. Thank you very much for your contributions. I'd like to turn to Gökçe once again. And before the pandemic, and so the Central Registry Office had already started diversifying its services. So we talked about e-board and also e-general assembly. And I believe that this will start to spread and expand in Turkey and internationally. Could you please tell us about this? As the Central Registry Office, what about central registries? So we are a financial fintech company as well. So this is part of our global services vision. As you said that, so AGK is our general assembly system, and so it's similar to EJK. So we have a e-board system in which documents can be signed electronically. So the journey abroad of EJK dates back to 2013. And then we promoted EJK both domestically and also internationally as well. The main purpose of EJK was, and in order to better the corporate management systems, and also we want foreign investors to attend, and we wanted to remove the barriers before participating in board meetings cross borders. So you can manage general, for example, general assemblies from A to Z. And so many investors were complaining about the blocking of shares before the meeting, and this also eliminated this as well. And as mentioned by our general manager in his presentation, so AJK is being used in Indonesia, and in 2016 and 2017, so there were some pilot usages of it in Kenya. And so Indonesia is not the first foreign country in which AJK was used. And then we are still holding deliberations with some other countries for its integration as well. For about 10 years, we've been using the electronic general assembly system, also renewing its framework and having more user-friendly screens. And so we are some of the points that we are working on, and also accessing the application over the e-government or making it, and also and certain sub-processes, we want certain sub-processes to be supported by artificial intelligence as well. So, so the e-board system is broader in comparison to the e-general assembly. And so we've been using it internally within the Central Registry Office, and starting from 2020, we started promoting it to countries abroad, and it is being used by more than 60 companies at the moment. The greatest power of the e-board is the power that it derives from the law, from the legal arrangements. Both EJK and also EYSK are beyond digitalization, and also they enable participants. They also it eliminates the necessity for participants to be somewhere physically. It will also reduce their, for example, travel costs, and also carbon emissions as well. And also this will enable these people to save time, and also it will also save paper and electricity, and we can add more items to this list as well. And hopefully, and these digital meetings and digital participation, which has accelerated by the pandemic, will continue in the coming years as well, so that we'll be able to introduce our system to some other countries as well. For example, in some European countries, and so I know that some so this service will start to be used in some European countries as well. I'd like to talk about competition, commission free, and also there are some mobile intermediary service providers, and also integration to world markets has become easier. So what I think of doing for competition in the coming periods, and for outsiders, let me give some brief information about the intermediary sectors. And according to so there are some 54 intermediaries, and they have more than 6,000 employees. And also, so their total sales is 313 billion. And also, so their equity is about 11 billion. So when you compare it to the banking industry, the banking industry has been historically ahead. So these figures are the equivalent of the figures of a small or medium scale bank. So this is an area which is open to improvement, and I think it needs to improve as well. And we see the clues of this over the recent times, and we see some blossoming. So what have we done within this period as TAB investment? So and you also touched about commissions. So the commissions in our intermediation sectors, so they have only one source of revenue. And so it is about 4 or 5 in 10,000. And the lowest one is 1 in 10,000, and goes up to 7 in 10,000. And so the examples abroad are important. And Robinhood, for example, because they have a big volume of customers, and so they consolidate certain transactions under a threshold and they distribute them to some other institutions. And it is said that they try to raise some revenues based on this. As you know, that there are some similar intermediaries in Turkey as well, and I don't think so transferring this flow to other institutions will not be very functional, but I believe that we should all try to make this pie bigger and also raise our share in this pie. And also we have renewed our digital applications, and also we presented again to our customer once again, and we are meeting with many different stakeholders. Among these are fintechs and also startup companies as well. And we have some activities on the robotic side as well. So our main purpose is to increase our market share and to get a greater share in in the at the end of 2020 and at the beginning of 2021. So we started accumulating equity, and also so we are becoming a sector which can create more resources, and so all our activities is a function of our capital in line with the existing legislation. So the faster we grow our capital, the better a better point we will reach. And as we grow our equity, and I believe that we will have a bigger market share. So from a digital point of view, we're ready as a sector, and maybe perhaps there's a need for a couple of developments. But so there's also the crypto side as well. So this crypto side is said to have reached 2 trillion, and also in Turkey it's about, we're talking about 6-8 million investors, and this is a very big figure. And for example, in the share market, we were so happy when we reached 2 million. This is 3 or 4 times more than that. And then the market share is said to be at about 2 or 3%. And also, it is the equivalent of the total market capitalization of the stock exchange as well. So this is decentralized. It is cloud-based. However, if the intermediation is, so there has to be a regulation in order to involve the intermediation sectors into crypto as well, because it's an important field. As I said, at the end of the day, the intermediation sector has done its bit in a very good way. And you told us, so when the number of investors increase, so the technological infrastructure has become very important, and we're investing in it continuously to make things more secure. And in the coming period, and we will come up with some robotic and also machine learning and also similar products. And I believe that thanks to machine learning and some other technologies, we will come to a much better place as our capital grows. And I hope that a similar process will not be experienced once again.
By diversifying your services, you will continue to grow. It seems that the payment systems can support the capital market side, in my opinion, because currency systems can be integrated. This was a question that was raised before the pandemic, but where do we stand now? Payment system and electronic currency is very close attached to digital, and of course with digital technologies evolving and continuing to grow, there will be also changes, and changes also in the regulatory system. There are new regulations with the new with the 2 new codes. There has been some changes implemented. In 2015, in the EU directive for payment systems, there was a revision, and PSD2 has been published. So we had the system of open banking inside of the acquis communautaire, and afterwards In our regulation, the EU directive was also taken into account, and open banking has been taken into the code. And this open banking is starting a payment system. And in this 12, both regulations, both are in this regulation, and also to the electronic banking and banking systems. There has been defined some open banking systems. So the API, so the user interface, and the financial tools the banks are giving to their customers, the customers can use these APIs to apply for these services. And with these regulations, the
Ödeme hizmeti başlatma ve hesap
with the 6493 law code, the details has to be defined, and this will be done by the central bank, but open banking bases on trust. So some of the transactions have to be done by the customers consent, and on the other side, the system bases on the transparency, and so that people have better products and will have an easier access to these products and services. And payment system users can make a request and can start a payment order from a service of another service provider with the customer's consent, of course. And consolidated information can be, with the consent of the customer, also be published. So you think the payment systems will have a big contribution to the capital markets. This is great. Thank you. And İLYAS Bey, what can we expect on as digital changes in the capital market? Thank you. I want to make here. Open banking is, of course, very important, and it will have also an effect on the capital markets. And blockchain is, of course, a topic that should be also in the regulations. So especially for KYC processes, and it will find a place for itself in our capital market. About cryptocurrencies, I don't say anything about cryptocurrencies because it's obvious. And low code is one of the most important resources for digitalization. And post-pandemic, after the pandemic, it's not easy to have skilled labor force, and I think that their use will be much more important, and low code, no code will be half of this software that will be used until 2030. And the integration to international platforms, and especially on the trading side, it will make the difference for customers. And like our general manager said, and during all this time, we will have a huge amount of data, and artificial intelligence products will be more relevant for the capital markets because of this data. Thank you. And I hope that we could show some of the effects the digital transformation will have on the capital markets after the pandemic. And we would like to thank the Capital Market Authority and Congress for giving us the floor. Thank you.